Well, thank you both for being in the Quad Cities today to share this message of tourism. I am from Illinois, but I live in Iowa, so I feel like I'm a fair, neutral moderator for this conversation. So I appreciate your willingness to have this conversation today. We are in Iowa right now, so I'm going to start with you, Amy. I think I want to begin by letting people know what the collaboration and relationship is like between your agency and Visit Quad Cities.
Awesome, very good question. Thank you, Denise. And I want to just say thank you first to Dave and the team at Visit Quad Cities for the invitation to be here today. I appreciate that very much, and we love working with you. I think it's really collaboration between a state office and a DMO or a CBB is really that classic macro economics conversation, right? We do a great job of wide awareness. We bring people in. We tell people about the state as a whole. But what we don't do is we don't own venues. We don't run events like Bix Pride. And we don't have that kind of on-the-ground, day-to-day relationship with our small businesses, like our hotels and our restaurants, retail, all of those things. So I kind of like to say, we bring them in and the DMOs knock them down, right? You seal the deal for the state. And I think that's kind of how our relationship really works.
Would you echo those sentiments, Daniel?
Yeah, I do, and I think that Illinois, we are lockstep in partnership with our 36 convention and visitor bureaus. In fact, we're one of the only states in the country that actually guarantees funding for that model. And I think some of the points that Dave was mentioning and you mentioned is around those local, authentic experiences. And I think it's our job and our responsibility to generate awareness and put a global spotlight on an Illinois story, but then turn the spotlight into the local CBD area and region, so people are looking and going deeper into those local experiences. So we couldn't do it without the partnerships that we have with the likes of Dave and our CBDs.
So speaking of spotlight, give us all the tea on working with Jane Lynch. I want to know how she became part of the campaign. She was in the Quad Cities. She was all over the place. What was that like? How did that come together?
Yeah, she was. And, at the end of the day, tourism has been and continues to be an incredibly competitive landscape, right? And, we were at a point where, like everyone in the room, we were confined to our electronic devices and our computer screens and whatever the definition of lockdown was in whatever region. And the reality is we needed to cut through the digital clutter from a marketing standpoint. And, we don't have Disneyland here. And it was interesting because somebody said to me today from California, just road trips ignore Disneyland in Illinois. And it's like, yeah, absolutely. So enter Jane, an Illinoisan that had never directed anything in her illustrious career, can you believe that? And we vetted a lot of people. And what we said is, look, how do we put a spotlight on a global, national level, have a bit of fun with it, cut through the digital clutter, and hold our own from a competitive standpoint. And Jane just happened to be that proud Illinois that wanted to own this. And so that's how it really happened. And, we didn't pay her lots and lots of money like other states do. Her heart was in this, and she owned it with both hands. She was passionate. She would, if she wasn't happy with something, she would stop and recut it, and it was just great. And that campaign alone, just in terms of economic impact, it's been in the market about 18 months. For every dollar that we've invested in that campaign, we're getting $91 back on business spend. We're generating for every $1 of investment, we're getting $10 back on local tax and state revenue. So it's blowing all the metrics, and we've driven 2 million more incremental visits into the state directly through those TV spots.
Cutting through the clutter is so difficult.
Yes.
So difficult. So Amy, tell me about the soul of Iowa.
Yes, so it's our marketing campaign and our tagline, but it's really so much more. It's a way that we are utilizing incredible acrobatic drone video to capture attention, rise above the kind of, here's what everything in the Midwest looks like, and get people's attention about Iowa, right? We do Everything that we do at the Iowa Tourism Office is data-driven. We always do research, we do surveys, we do analytics, that is what we do. So the Soul of Iowa really started with a survey question where we asked people who had never been to Iowa before, what do you think of when we say Iowa? And I mean, we got the typical, the corn, farmers, got a few potatoes thrown in there.
Okay.
But you know what the number one answer was?
Tell me.
Nothing. They don't think of anything. That is the number one perception of people who don't live here and are familiar with Iowa. So, I mean, it's an interesting place to start from a marketing campaign. You don't have to overcome negative, which is great.
Right.
And you really have just an open landscape to really seal the deal, right? So that is what the Soul of Iowa is. And it's really just a platform that helps us talk about tourism and the hidden gems and getting out and experiencing. Like, Iowa isn't what you might think of. We're not nothing.
Oh my gosh.
And it really just kind of helps us tell the story of how tourism is the way to share Iowa with the world.
Well, I was going to ask you what opportunities are up next, but it seems like there could be really anything.
And really anything.
Yeah.
We did just wrap on 7 new drone flyover videos, and those will roll out. One of them will be previewed next week, so stay tuned.
And what about Illinois? What opportunities are on the horizon for you?
Yeah, look, I think, post-pandemic, everything has changed, right? The why we travel, the how we travel, the things that we value on a holiday or vacation have changed. So the consumers have a bit of a recalibration, and I think some of the things that we're seeing is outdoor recreation wasn't just a response to the pandemic. It is absolutely something that people are moving into. Revenge travel at the upper end, there was a lot of revenge travel, right? And we kept looking at the data going, okay, when's the spending going to run out? But the reality is, particularly at the high end of luxury travel, people are spending a lot more money, and that revenge travel has taken off, and they're continuing to spend at a rate. So we're seeing amazing trends here, agritourism, sports. So I'm, hearing the importance of data around niche marketing, which includes sports, tour, group, business travel. But I think the number one opportunity that I think is right in front of us right now is conventions, business travel has changed dramatically. That biennial, triennial sort of event calendar or convention calendar has changed dramatically. So we may not be going to as many conferences, but we might be extending our stay. We're taking our family. So for us, we've historically focused on leisure, but actually we're turning the dial back to focus on leisure as well, because they're going to be equally important. And I think that's where we're going to claw back some of that competitiveness.
So how does the Illinois Made program fit into that? Because there are a lot of Quad City businesses that are represented on that list. It's so great to see. Where does that fit in?
Yeah, I mean, Illinois Made, we launched that in 2016. That's really our intersection of small business and the connection to tourism at a regional level. And we know that back to those authentic, unique stories in regions, that's what the consumer wants, right? And we have dramatically invested and changed in growing that program. So at the end of, sort of probably mid-November, we'll induct the largest class that we've ever had. We will quadruple the amount of videos that we're producing. I mean, I've had small businesses in tears telling me how much we have impacted their business. I've had businesses call us and say, thanks for including us in your holiday gift guide. Can you leave us out in the Mother's Day gift guide, because we can't keep up with, we're literally at capacity. And when you hear stories like that, and that's what makes what we do so magical, right? Is telling those local stories, and that's what tourism's all about.
What local story do you think the Quad Cities tells when you compare it with the rest of the state of Iowa? What do you think our strength is compared to the rest of the state?
That's a great question. we get an incredible volume of visitors that enter Iowa from the Quad Cities. The Quad Cities is like our front door. Whether it's on I-80, whether it's from a river cruise, whether it's from the airport, I think the Quad Cities and the Mississippi Riverfront is kind of the welcome mat for our visitors. And I am really excited about the investment that's happening at the Davenport Riverfront through the Destination Iowa project, and all of that creative placemaking that will be happening. I just think that will enhance everything in the Quad Cities.
I feel like, Daniel, your answer is going to be similar because you gave a stat about who's searching for what on the Enjoy Illinois website. Tell me about that.
Yeah, I think again, back to all of our points, we love to make data-driven decisions, and we're looking at that data weekly, monthly, and sort of adjusting our marketing plans. We are seeing a tremendous amount of volume still around the Mississippi, around the Great River Road. At the moment, the Quad Cities region, you'll be pleased to know, is our number one searched and engaged with component of enjoyillinois.com right now. And
that's really cool.
That's a real reason. I've seen some collaboration between Iowa and Illinois and launching a multi-state itinerary or something like that. We can
We're making connections. That's what it's all about. Let's wrap up today with the one key takeaway. If no one hears anything else, what do you want them to know about your work in Illinois and then yours in Iowa?
Yeah, look, it's a really good question, and all joke aside, I love that it's because I've said it many times before that our job isn't a blue or a red issue, it's a green issue. And I think the most important thing is, related to that, is sometimes we get caught up in the politicization, sometimes we get caught up in the red tape, sometimes we get caught up in the bureaucracy, right? The number one thing is we do what we do to inspire travel. And the number one thing that we constantly remind our team and our people when we do a marketing campaign or we think about Jane 2.0 is how do we inspire and connect with people? And that's not political. That is just inspiring that moment and that motivator to choose a destination and go after an experience that you may not have had before. And so putting yourself in consumer shoes is the number one thing for me and everything that we do. It's a great barometer in the right way.
Yeah, I would say, no one is successful in a silo. It takes a lot of collaborative vision and strategy to really make an impact and be successful. And I think the number one thing for me is that we're about making the visitor experience, and nobody travels based on a city line. Nobody travels based on a county line. Nobody travels based on state lines. They look for the destination experience, and we all need to work together to create that experience.
Thank you both for being here in the Quad Cities, for checking out our region, and for all the work that you're doing in your respective states to bring even more people here. Thank you so much.